Hey, Jodi.
Hi.
Okay, Jodi. So tell folks a little bit about yourself, and then I want to push you off a cliff into two hypotheticals.
Okay. I have 19 years of marketing experience, 15 of which were agency side, a creative agency.
Hmm.
And then I also have 8 years of being specifically CMOs, for being on brand side. So I have a kind of unique brand and agency perspective on the CMO role that really is kind of fun and fun to see things from both sides.
Yes, it
But
is. Okay, so here's our hypothetical. Okay, you've signed a new client. All the contracts and stuff are done. They're only about 5 minutes from your house, so you're actually going to walk in there at Monday at 9 o'clock in their building, right, for day
okay.
one. And so it's day one. You're walking in. What's the nightmare scenario you're walking into with a brand new client? And what's the dream scenario you might end up walking into?
Yeah. Just like a SWAT, usually the nightmare is also the
Yeah.
opposite of the dream. So maybe I'll start with the dream and just say like walking in and you have, all the key stakeholders that are going to have some part of this that are at least you get to meet and
Hmm.
so you understand that there's some buy-in from leadership there. That when you sit down and start talking to them that they're asking insightful questions, there's not like immediately like I need some demand, I have
Right.
demands of what we're going to do right now. um, just listening to the questions that they ask and being able to have a good conversation. Hopefully you've already kind of weeded out the people that you don't think you're going to have a good fit with in the prospecting part of the process, so that you do feel like you already have some sort of good relationship, because building trust is really kind of the key of having this relationship work for everyone. So a dream scenario too would be like they have all of their data, like they have everything, and they're willing to share it with you. That
Jody
they
dreams big.
I know, um, that they already kind of have a good idea of what a budget is and what they
Oh my
need.
God. This is a
I know
unicorn
I'm
client.
going big, like I'm going
Jeez, Jody.
big.
Slow
And
your roll. Oh my God.
and that they understand the difference between strategy and tactics. That would also be
Oh God.
amazing.
It gets
I know
worse.
that's not going to happen, but and just having realistic expectations.
That's the worst one yet.
I know, and
All
that
right,
they do.
Jody, we got to switch. There's
Okay,
no company in the world that is that good. Who's
I
the
know.
nightmare?
Your nightmare is obviously the ones that like I've done
They're
marketing
like,
before and it
hey,
never
Jody,
worked.
who are you?
Yeah. Yeah, that's terrible, like, or they send just like some junior person to come walk you around that has nothing to do with marketing, and you're like, this is
Yeah.
not gonna work. Um, that you have executive team that like just kind of you can tell they're already skeptical, and like we've done marketing and it hasn't worked before. Like that's always a bad place to start. Um, that they have no tracking or attribution model in at all. So they have like no idea where their existing
Hmm.
customers are coming from or where they're losing them, or, um, that they really don't understand that there's different budgets for different phases in their business, like also just decision making paralysis or siloed departments, kind of
Mhm.
the key flags that you're like, this is going to be a struggle.
Yeah. All right. All right. Honestly, no matter what you said about the nightmare, if you had just talked about a regular company compared to the dream company, they would have looked awful anyway. So
Yeah. Well,
those are
sometimes you
those
get
are
pieces
you
of
get
it.
different two polarities for like what
Yeah.
you did there. All right. So hi Mel, how are you? Welcome
I'm
back.
so great. Thank you.
What is this? Your third time here, maybe?
I think it is my third time.
Well, welcome both of you to episode 188. And so, like, Mel, tell folks a little bit about you and then talk about a nightmare and a dream scenario. And I can't wait to hear this answer.
Mine's going to be much more simple. Uh,
Okay.
so I am Melanie Asher, founder and fractional chief marketing officer with Omical. I work with B2B businesses who are all tangled and stuck, and to them their marketing doesn't work. They've tried everything and nothing works, so I am the one that they call to unleash their full potential. As for the best and worst case scenarios,
Right.
I actually like when they don't know what they don't know, and I like when they are open to, they say it straight up. They're like, this is what we know, this is what we don't know, and work with us, help us. They're open to learning. As long as they're open to learning, it doesn't really matter what the situation is because we can figure it out.
All right. So then imagine that was day one, right? Walking in.
That was day one.
Mel, imagine we're going to go way out into the future, day 89.
Okay.
Which is as far in the future as this podcast ever looks. Okay.
That's why we have 90 days in there.
You're like, in the hallway and you happen to pass a board member or maybe the CEO and they said, hey, so funny, we were just thinking about you yesterday. When we brought you in, the value prop, pretty clear. We knew what you were, going to do and so on. But I think we've had like a real aha moment about like what you're really accomplishing here. Mm-hmm. What's their aha moment about you?
Usually the first aha that they're having is that marketing is not something you just outsource or give to a low-level, entry-level employee. It's usually that, marketing is a tool that almost every department within the company can leverage and can add value to. So when they have that aha, then it's, okay, let's rally behind this. We don't know how it works, but let's do it.
And Jodi, how about you? What's the aha moment that they have after you've been there long enough so they can really appreciate what you're building or accomplishing?
When the moment that they were like, there really is a good process to marketing, and that, like Mel said, that if it's not left to a low-level employee that doesn't understand marketing, that like experience really does matter, and that you can really make a lot of big wins with just slight adjustments and changes to things that they probably weren't doing correctly. And that's like, oh, wow, this was really worth the time and effort, especially if you went through the initial process to figure out how to do their business a little bit better. That's a fun part when they're like, oh, wow, all we had to do is change this, and that made that big of a difference.
Okay, then let's assume you got a day off from that client because you needed to go to the local convention center because you're the keynote speaker. And you're on stage, you're talking to these 250 people. They all just came out of corporate yesterday. Today is their first day as fractional CMOs. Like, they're brand new at it, right? So what's going to happen is, as we go through this speech in 3 parts, I'm going to give you a sentence and you just finish it with as much time as you need to finish it, to finish the thought. Okay, so Jodi, we'll stay with you for a second. You're talking to these folks and you say, look, I remember back when I was first getting started, and I'll tell you this. When you're a fractional CMO and you're just starting out, you're going to be shocked by what?
You're going to be shocked by how much management of the relationship you're doing. It's not just about your marketing expertise and the things that you're bringing to the table for what they're hiring you for, but it's also a lot of managing their relationships, keeping that trust going, making sure that they really feel like you have their best interest at heart. And it's a lot of relationship management, quite a bit more than you would have to do if you're an internal CMO.
Exactly. And then Mel, what do you think? You're talking to these folks, they're brand new, and you say, look, you're just getting started. You're going to be shocked about what?
The needing to navigate the balance between functioning as an internal employee versus now you are legally a contractor.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not the same, but yet it is the same. And there's different areas where you have to navigate that differently than what you would as an employee.
Mm-hmm. So Mel, let's stay with that for a second. Okay. So you're talking to them and say something else I want you to know. As you go out there, most clients just don't understand what?
Most clients, meaning the fractional CMO clients, or the fractional CMOs themselves, because I've got something for that too.
Oh, well, you can do both. But what do the companies typically not understand when they're bringing on a fractional CMO?
That marketing has been given this stigma that a single marketing person can do anything and everything and do anything and everything perfectly. So they think if they pay you, they don't have to pay other people or other teams. And that's not usually the best spend of their budget. So navigating that conversation of roles and responsibilities and how to get the best for whatever it is they're investing in.
What was
That's
it?
from the client perspective.
What from the CMO's perspective?
From the CMO's perspective is to
Wait to hear
remember
this.
that you yourself are running a business
Hmm.
and you have to work on your business and make sure you have your budget in place instead of just completely submerging yourself into clients, because clients transition. And if you're not prepared for that, you're setting yourself up for failure.
Yeah. Jodi, how about you? Most clients just don't understand what?
They most of them don't understand that marketing, it's a process, that this isn't a single event. The real growth and real, moving forward is consistency and doing the things that you've set out to plan to do ahead of time, and not to get diverted into shiny objects or trying to do too many things,
Right.
or comparing yourself to the competition and thinking like, well, I want to do this.
All right. All right. And then Jodi, some interns trying to wave you off stage, like you got chatty and you took too long, and they're sort of playing the music like they do at the Oscars to get you off. Right. But by God, you're not going to leave stage until you say one more thing. It's like, guys, like they're getting rid of me right now, but I'm going to tell you this: the most important lesson I can tell you about getting clients is what?
To network with other fractional like executives. So having relationships with CFOs or COOs or CTOs, because they have a very specific skill set that they know that they're not, and they need resources to help their clients. And so that's just a really good opportunity to tap into. And you're helping them and they're helping you. And
Right.
it's always a really good relationship to build.
And Mel, what's your most important lesson for these brand new, freshly baked into the frying pan fractional CMOs about getting clients?
I completely agree with Jodi. Another take is ask your clients for referrals, the clients that you like anyway.
Good. Okay, so you're off the stage now. They finally took out the big cane and like pulled you. Right? And so now you're just going to go out onto the convention floor with all the booths and the people walking around and stuff. And you end up, meeting a lot of prospects, a lot of prospective clients for you, right? So as you're talking to them and they're talking to you about marketing, we'll start with Mel on this one. So they're talking to you about marketing. What do they tend to overrate and underrate when they're talking to you about marketing and or even what a fractional CMO might do for them?
They tend to overrate their individual tactics as if it is a determining
Mm-hmm.
strategy and bigger and better. And they're often, at least with me, surprised when my response is, I don't care. I want to talk about the overall company goals, short term and long term, so I can tell you if your tactics and if your strategy that you're currently working with is in alignment.
Yeah. And Jodi, how about you? Oh, wait. What do they underrate, Mel?
They underrate the value of seeing marketing as an overall strategy and having a lot of what Jodi's been saying, the operational build out that aligns marketing with sales and client experience. They underrate that.
And Jodi, how about you? When you're talking to prospective clients, and they talk to you about marketing and fractional CMOs and the business, what do they tend to overrate and what do they not put enough emphasis on?
They tend to overrate, I think, the ability of tools to do everything. Like there's not just a get this done button, and then the time that it actually takes to do things well and properly. And I think that they underrate. I just think they underrate the value of their data. Like they know that they have all this data, but they don't understand the value of all of it. Like
Right.
the sales data over here corresponds with what's happening on your social media and what's happening in your email campaigns, and why it takes us so long to go through all of that data and really look for those deep insights, and they don't understand that value.
Okay, then Jodi, let's sort of stay with that then. But you're talking to these companies, right? They're trying to suss out if you're a good fit for them, and you're trying to do that, see if they're a good fit for you. What's like a red flag and a green flag that a company might throw up as you're talking to them? as in like, not these guys. Like, I'm not even sure they should be hiring any fractional CMO, never mind me. And a green flag is like, this sounds like right in my wheelhouse.
Yeah, the red flag for me is if you don't feel like there's buy-in from the CEO and the CFO on marketing.
Mhm.
They really see marketing as an expense versus an investment in their future revenue. That's a big red flag.
Yeah.
And a green flag is that they ask a lot of questions and that they're really excited. They see the potential and that they feel like you're going to help them get to where their dream 4, 5, 10-year plans are. And that's a fun part of the process, is that when they're excited and interested and
Yeah.
engaged.
And Mel, how about you? What's a red flag and a green flag when you're talking to prospective clients?
A red flag is definitely if they see marketing as an expense and they're challenging you right up front. And challenging is not bad, but I mean challenging in a way where they're attempting to say that they know more about marketing than you, so it's more of an ego play than anything.
Mm-hmm.
That's a red flag, because then they're not open to learning, listening, or making changes. A green flag is when they do ask a lot of questions and they try to make your answers relatable to their situation. So whatever answer you give them, they ask a follow-up question and share a little bit about what they're currently doing, so you can have that dialogue about what could be different and maybe a gap that they don't realize is a gap.
All right. Excellent. Okay, so we moved from the customers building on day one over to the talking on stage to milling around on the convention floor. And now you're in the after party that's just for fractional CMOs. And so you guys have just met there for the first time, just
Hi,
randomly.
Jodi.
And so so you're looking at each other and you're thinking like, this is an opportunity to ask another fractional CMO a question that I would like to know, but I don't normally. First of all, most fractional CMOs don't actually work like in pairs. They don't work together. You're probably the only fractional CMO at that client, right? And so we'll start with Jodi. Jodi, you look at Mel and you say, so, we don't know each other, but since I've got you here, I want to ask you something. Then what do you ask her?
Well, I see that Mel's got an MBA, and I come from the completely opposite side. I started as an art director and ended up here. So I would like to know what your thoughts are about what, as an MBA, you bring to the table that might be a different perspective than someone that comes from the more creative and brand side of the CMO world.
Would you like me to answer, Dean?
No, I want you to leave her
Okay.
hanging.
Okay, I'll leave her hanging then. No, so
I get asked on this podcast sometimes so off the wall. Yes,
I know, it's
answer her.
great. So what I bring that's different is, yes, I have the background of more traditional art and traditional creative, but what I have found with the MBA is it lends credibility to making marketing a part of the overall team and integrating it better with the company, at least from a perception and from a languaging perspective. The language is definitely key as to why many companies view marketing as a nice to have or something that we can save by outsourcing. And the MBA brings more validity to it, because I'm using the same language that an executive would use when they're looking at their P&L or their cash flow or making executive strategy based decisions.
I don't know how we're finding these guests, but it's getting weird. The more episodes we make, we got to find better, like weird people. Okay? They're off the rails. I'm telling you, these episodes are just off the rails. Anyway, I'm just talking to my imaginary producer. I know you're not. All right. And Mel, what's your question for Jodi, the other fractional CMO that you've randomly been paired with?
I would ask Jodi, because you have that creative and art director background, how are you, and today you talked a lot about operations, which is unusual. How have you made that shift and what challenges are you seeing in working with clients to help them understand that it's not one or the other?
Yeah, I started way early in my career, but quickly realized that I actually really love numbers, which freaks anybody out that's a creative person. And they're like, "You like spreadsheets, gross," you know? So once I learned early in my career that I really enjoyed the numbers part of it, so I moved into that part of marketing. And then just through the years of working at the agency, I was always involved with our clients. And you're still kind of a fractional CMO even in the agency world. So you're involved in their numbers. And so I learned along with my clients the importance of their numbers. So I got to the point where towards the end of my agency CMO, I was literally a CMO for a fractional for some of my agency clients, where I would come in and help them, and we would review their P&Ls and look at their sales data, talk to the sales team. You know, I would even have a client that would bring me into their fulfillment in their warehouse and like got into that data. So it's just, I'm an infinitely curious person. So I have always just accumulated information and knowledge, and that's really helped flesh out so that I'm kind of a true left brain, right brain. At least I like to say I am.
All right. So this is, by the way, even with all the craziness, thank you both for being here. That was the okay, never mind. It's fine. We started we started weird, we ended weird. This is how it works. Fine. So Jodi, tell the 8 billion people in the world which ones of them should contact you and how.
I specialize in direct to consumer. So it's not that I can't do B2B, but I love consumer marketing. I do the research, dig into the customer personas, the customer journeys. I really love that. So if you're a medium to small business that has a direct to consumer business, especially if it's e-com, I have a lot of e-com experience, and you like to do brave and fun marketing, then I'm the person that you should reach out to. And then you can find me on my personal website, which is Jodi Elle. It's jodi-elle.com.
And Mel, how about you? Who should be contacting you, and what's the best way to get to you?
I work exclusively with B2B businesses who are seeking to scale or going through a transition. When they feel like they have tried everything and nothing works with their marketing, I am the one that you call. You can find me at omical.com or on LinkedIn, Melanie Asher. And then I do have the MBA letters after my name.
I saw a line, by the way, that I really liked. And there's a whole story about realizing that I'd actually like written it years ago, but didn't recognize it was my own thing. But
that's always fun when that happens.
When you write 1 million words a year, it can happen, right? And
yes.
But it had come out of a bunch of interviews with folks on the B2C side and the B2B side for marketing. And sort of the takeaway from that is that B2B marketing is hard because there are so many competitors, and B2B marketing is hard because there are so few customers.
Yes.
Right? You can't do destructive testing. You can't do like testing for just this group of like 100 companies in B2B, because there might only be 1,000 companies, period, that you'll ever sell to.
That's right.
And so you can't burn 10% of them on a weird, wacky, kind of thing. So, B2C and B2B are both hard. They're just hard for different reasons.
That's right.
Very true.
Yeah. And the mindset and the approach to both of them are drastically different. So I love, if a company comes to me and they are D2C or B2C, I would be more than happy to say, go call Jodi, because I know it's not my wheelhouse. It's not where I thrive. And I would rather work with clients that I know I'm going to thrive with.
Same. Yeah.
B2C is like, hey, we think marketing is important. Why haven't you built us a rocket? And B2B is like, here, we've given some bicycle parts. Please build a rocket.
Well, B2C, like, since it's such a, like you said, you're reaching out to so many people. Like, but it's almost then like sometimes you can be a lot more free with your content or your ideas, because you can test them out on a lot of people, and it's not going to do, massive amounts of damage, because, 100 million other people out there to reach.
All right. Thank you both for being here. This has been fantastic. Thanks for watching, folks. So I'll see everyone next time. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.